Welcome. In today's lesson, we're going to be discussing a content creation strategy. This is really a process of week to week, but what I've laid out is kind of a total year of content creation. So often what I see with many of my clients is they put a lot of work into creating quality content and then they just post it as a blog article, or they might do a newsletter with that content, but there's really so many other ways you can sort of monetize that content and use it to grow your business. So I'm going to lay out is sort of a strategy um, where you're creating new content each week, but it's feeding into kind of overall campaign. So what I would like you to do is plan 11 weeks of content. So 11 different articles about different types of content that would or different topics that would relate to your business, right? So I would also like this to be evergreen content, meaning that it is not based around a certain date. So don't create content around a sale or something that happens on a certain date. Examples I've used in the past, like for sunglass companies, the history of sunglasses. How are sunglasses created? What are the fashion trends with sunglasses? Um, Things like that. That would be considered evergreen content because an article about the history of sunglasses, that's not going to change in 10 years probably, right? Like, I mean, there's going to be new information or whatever, but like the origins of sunglasses and how sunglasses were created, that would be a great example of evergreen content. For our CBD clients, how was CBD created? Why is CBD such a fad now? How did CBD become so popular? Who first started using it, right? That information isn't going to change in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever it might be, right? That's the kind of content you want to create in this example. Obviously, you can create other content on top of this, just in this sort of campaign. What I want you to do is just think of 11 different pieces of evergreen content that you can create that would relate to your business, just within the category, right? Before you start writing anything, as always, swipe, do your research, find other companies that have created evergreen content. What are they talking about? Create a nice little catalog of their content to get ideas from. And then whatever sort of customer research you can do on top of this would mainly just be looking at your current customer base if you have a pretty substantial amount and seeing what they already respond to, right? So if you've we'll use sunglass companies as an example. So if you've run ads previously that related to the history of sunglasses or had images of historical images of sunglasses, that's worth knowing, right? That would be something that you would consider using within the content as well. Okay, so each week here's basically the process. You create an article, and writing a quality article each week, it might sound like a big, this is all going to sound like a very daunting task, but it really isn't. The most work involved here is really the writing of the content. That's something you can hire a freelance writer for, very inexpensive. They can deliver really quality work, and this doesn't have to be a huge, really long article as well. This could be as little as just a few pages. Um, but once the article is created, you post that or once the content is created, you post that as an article on your website, add some media, add some images. If you have any videos, embed those within the article as well. Create a newsletter around that content. Send out that newsletter and include a link to your article within it. Right? Take parts of that content and post it to your social media channels. Easy enough, right? And obviously have a link back to your article within each one of those social media posts. It's great for your SEO and might drive big traffic. Okay. Next step is you get quality links to your article by either doing outreach or sponsored content. That's basically contacting websites and saying, "Hey, look, I wrote this article. It's related to your website. Consider posting a link on your website to ours." Oftentimes, that's kind of an old school game. Nowadays, everyone knows that they can make money doing that. So usually it involves purchasing some sponsored content with links to your article. What that's going to do is it might drive some traffic to your site and customers, but really that's one of the most beneficial things you can do for SEO. Quality content and links to your site from high quality websites, those are the two really big factors with SEO. Include this content within ads that you're running with current campaigns. So let's say you're running paid ads right now in Facebook or Google for retargeting. You're retargeting people that have been to your website with the last 30 days, right? You already have ads that are delivering great results, but consider creating a few more ads that are around this sort of content and then including them within your campaigns. That's really not going to be a huge revenue driver, but it adds a little bit of diversity to your ads, and it shows engagement with people that already know your brand, right? Like it shows new content that's going out there, and they should be very responsive to it, considering that they've been to your site before, right? Because it's retargeting ads. Keep a copy of all this content in your swipe file, so that way you can reference it in the future or use it for future content or marketing efforts. Okay, that's all within 1 week. That's the process, right? So you're creating content, you're using that content to post an article to your website, you're creating a newsletter and sending that out, you're posting it to all your social media channels, you're getting some links from other websites, you're including that content with ads that you're already running within your campaign, retargeting ads, and then you're keeping that within your swipe file. Repeat that process once a week for another 10 weeks. So you now have 11 articles completed. Okay. Now here's kind of the thing where a lot of people balk. You take those 11 articles and you create a book out of it, which sounds like a big process. It really isn't. Everything is so streamlined now with self-published authors and whatnot. It's really just a matter of taking those 11 articles and making, even if the articles are very short, creating a very simple, could be a 70-page book, whatever it is, right? And that's just a combination of those articles, right? So it can be, let's say you're doing sunglasses again, right? And there's a common theme between all the 11 articles. I'm guessing because they're all related to your business and the products that you're selling and whatnot. So, history of sunglasses, who invented sunglasses, sunglass trends, whatever it might be. I'm not a sunglass expert, but you understand the idea here, right? This book isn't really going to be a big revenue driver for you. Although it could be. Who knows? Like it might be a huge hit. But it's really a way to build credibility with your business yourself, and as a lead generation tool, because there's going to be a certain amount of people that purchase the book, right, and come back and buy from you in the future, or they buy from you and then they end up purchasing your book. It's a little like a self-feeding monster, I like to call them, which they're beautiful. Self-feeding monsters are one of the most beautiful things you can ever really create with marketing. So how do you promote the book? Come on. Create content about the book, use that content to post an article to your website, use it within a newsletter, right? Take pieces of it, post it to your social media with a link back to your article on your website, get quality links from other websites that link back to your article. Consider, well, you definitely should for your book content, include this content in new ads for any ads that you're running for retargeting. Now people that bought from you or consider buying from you, they now don't know that you've written a book about, you're seen as an authoritative expert in your field now, and that's really going to help your overall conversions and, get some new customers in the door for you. And then you keep this content in your swipe file to use in the future, which you'll probably use. So you now have 12 newsletters, right? So you have the 11 that you created, and then you have another 11 or another one that was created for the book, right? So you have 12 total. Take those 12 and include them in an automated email sequence so that when someone signs on to your newsletter, they're receiving an email a week for 12 weeks, right? So they sign up day one. Hey, thanks for signing up. The kind of intro letter, you would have to write that out. That wouldn't be included in this. But then after that, hey, here's the history of sunglasses, right? And a link back to the article. Right? Week 2, here's a who invented sunglasses? Link back to the article. Right? So you now have 12 weeks of newsletters done out. One's promoting the book as well. That's also, you're going to get some book sales off of that. So you have 12 weeks of newsletters covered for new subscribers. Okay, so that's just 12 weeks. That's 3 months. Okay, so this is the review process. Which articles, newsletters, social media posts, and ads have driven the most conversions? Right? Have a look at all those. Get those laid out, and then figure out what is the one piece of content that has driven the most sales. Look at that. Try and figure out why that drove the most sales. What's unique about that content, right? That so more people purchase because of it, right? Now we repeat the process. We create 12 new pieces of content that are similar to this content, or sorry, 11 new pieces of content that are similar to this content, right? We do customer research and swipe before we begin to write, right? Figuring out other articles that are out there that are similar, right? What, competitors might have that, whatever it might be. You can look in on like Google Scholar or other websites to kind of find more scholarly articles if you really want to get dialed into the specifics. We're only creating evergreen content with this repeated process. We repeat the weekly process for 11 weeks, all right? And then we create a book out of that content. So you now have your second book. Again, I know creating a book sounds like a daunting task, but it's really streamlined. Another thing that you would want to consider with the book, and this would, I suppose you could do this yourself, but I did this with my book, is I had a guy read it, a professional audiobook reader, and he edited it, and it sounds great, and so it's like less than $1,000 to have this guy read a whole book, and it sounds fantastic. It's definitely going to pay for itself very quickly. So with the book creation, you could have the option of regular book, hardcover, Kindle ebook, and audiobook, right? So that's 4 options. They come to the page. You're giving them 4 different options to purchase this book. Again, it's not going to be a huge revenue driver, but it's definitely adds up. So you now have 2 of those books that are out there, right? As lead generations, and then you take those 12 newsletters that you just created, and you add them to your automation sequence. So people that sign up for your newsletter before they're receiving 12 weeks, 3 months of newsletters, they're now receiving 24 weeks of newsletters, six months of newsletters, right? Great. I mean, then that's all automated. That's as soon as they sign on, they just begin to receive these newsletters. What do we do? We review everything. Okay, what out of these new set of articles, these new dozen or so pieces of content that have been created, which articles, social media posts, ads have driven the most revenue? What is the number 1 piece of content out of this new set of 12 that has delivered the best results? What do? We figure out why. Why did this one stand out from the others? Is there certain images? Is there certain, something about this content that made it, sell more products for you or services, whatever you're selling? And you repeat this process, and then you repeat it again. Okay, so it's been repeated 4 times now, right? We're done 4 times now. And then at the end of the year, what you'll have with that is 48 articles on your website, each with links from other websites, which again, I mean, if you're writing, it doesn't even have to be the highest quality content. If you're writing okay content and you're getting links from quality websites, I mean, you're going to be doing really well with SEO. I mean, this is going to get you to the top of Google. Within a year, you have 48 articles, each with links from other websites. I mean, you're an SEO rock star. You would have 48 posts on each of your social media channels, which is, it's fine, whatever. 48 ads to promote this content and target people already familiar with your brand, which who knows? One of these could very well be very successful with people that are in your retargeted audience. It's just a matter of including, and really just including is just showing your people that are familiar with your brand, updates, and that you're engaged and that you're creating quality content, and that you're an authoritative figure. Right? You have 48 newsletters that have already been sent out to your subscribers because you're sending them out as you're sort of creating them, right? And then you have 48 newsletters that are automatically sent once a week to new subscribers. That's 1 full year of newsletters sent to anyone that signs on for your newsletter, right? You can, of course, I mean, if you set this up with automation where it's sent out like every Tuesday at 10 a.m., whatever it might be, send out, if you have a sale or whatever going on, sure, send that out on Thursday, send that out on Friday, send that on another time. But this is just a nice automated sequence where you're sending out this quality content, you're engaged with your audience, you're showing them, what you're up to. You have 4 books, which it's not going to make you a ton of cash, but each one is working as lead generation, and will drive some revenue. It really plays off of each other. You'll have people that buy the book, read it, potentially come to your website, make a purchase. You'll have people in your newsletter who receive an email about your book. They'll potentially buy your book, and it's those little self-feeding monsters. They're a beautiful thing. And then you'll have a swipe file. This is full of quality content that you can use in the future. Right? Now, there's a few optional weekly tasks that you can consider including. A white paper, which is really old school kind of way to go, but it's like just creating basically a PDF. It's a very official looking and very nice sounding. Basically, it's just an article that's done in a PDF format. It's kind of like a way PR agencies really were into these back in the day, but they're kind of dying out. If you're involved in the podcast at all, either your own podcast or you've done other podcasts on different channels, consider, if you wanted to, every week doing a quick podcast about this sort of content that you've created, and then include a link within the podcast to your article, and then within the article to the podcast. If you're doing something like podcasts on a lot of other channels, if you really kind of want to diversify and try a lot of different podcasts, that can be a huge selling point. Just say, hey, I want to do a podcast about this content. I'll include a link to your podcast. They'll love that, and then you potentially get a link back to your article as well. And if it's convenient, or you have a large following for your video content, create a video based on your content, the content that you created week by week. Now, this isn't something I would really stress about. Really, all this stuff, it's like, it's not, if you're creating a video and it's a huge process and it's very costly for you, and you're not going to see that ROI, then don't do it. That's obvious enough. I mean, I suppose it's not obvious, because a lot of people spend a lot of time on sort of this high quality video content, and it's like they don't have any YouTube followers, or they're not doing paid ads behind it. So, with everything that we're doing, what is it? It's always the return on investment, right? It's always the sales, it's always the conversions. We're not just creating quality content for the sake of creating quality content. Now, cost-wise, I mean, this is a fair amount of work, absolutely, but this is a really, great return on investment. So there's a good amount of work involved, but the costs really aren't too high. So if you think about it, per week, let's just say you hired a person to write 1,000 words per week. You can easily do that. $50. You can find somebody to do that. But let's just say $100. We'll keep it nice round numbers. $100. You have a graphic designer, design a few images, you make it look really nice. You have your newsletter, right? You probably would have a template for your newsletter already. Just taking this content and placing it in there. No real additional cost there. If you don't have a newsletter yet, then yeah, that would be, definitely want to get that designed and whatnot. Posting to your social media channels. That's just taking some content, posting it there. Adding these as ads to ads that you're already running. Again, not really much of an additional cost there. The ads might not deliver much in the way of conversions, but with Facebook and Google, I mean, you'll find out pretty quickly if they're not converting. They just won't be displayed. The creation of the newsletters, the 4 books. So for each book, freelancers, you can hire somebody to create a really simple book cover, and someone else to do the whole layout of the book, and upload it to Amazon for you and everything. Literally maybe $100, $150 for the whole book. What other costs are here? Book layout, the audio book, less than $1,000. The sponsored content, there's definitely some costs there, but it's not absolutely required. None of this is absolutely required. This is just a good structure to sort of work off of, right? Like if you're not running retargeting ads, don't set it up just to do the strategy. But if the budget's there, definitely you can purchase some sponsored content. A lot of it isn't too expensive, but it can get pretty pricey. But if you're just doing outreach where you're contacting websites, that doesn't cost you anything. It's just a matter of time. But if you have someone on your staff too, I mean, you could just have a full-time employee dedicated to this, and it can definitely pay dividends. So really the cost, it's the writing, maybe graphic design work, whatever, and then sponsored content, getting links from other websites. That would be your most expensive part, but it's not required. Adding to ads you're already running, and then once every 3 months, you're paying for a book cover to be designed and the layout for the book. If you want to do an audio book, that's less than $1,000. Really, over 3 months, you're looking at maybe $2,000. I would think at most. $2 to $3,000. I guess if it's $100 per article, that would add up. But pretty minimal. It's really just the this can be a little bit time consuming, but it is very good return on your investment for the time and the amount of cash that you're spending. I would suggest definitely look at the article that's next to this video. It's just so you can kind of follow this point by point. I just want to kind of cover this in video format so you can have a better idea of insights I have. But yeah, that's what I got for content creation strategy. I hope it's helpful, and I'll see you on the next one.